All right, starting the presentation. Team Pizza, as we like to call ourselves. So this is the 2023 Portland State Computer Science Capstone project. This is for the fall-winter cycle. Today's date, just March 16th. Two team leaders for our mega corporation team is Colin and Ruchir. Our sponsor was Ian Stidham with Abilities at Work. And all of our team members listed down below. We have Ben, Jonathan, Jacob, Carson, Minh, Jesse. We have Dustin, Ruchir, and Junyi.
So basically, our goal here was to take the existing method that Abilities at Work was using to match their clients with jobs. And basically, they are a company that helps match clients with specific special needs to jobs that fit the requirements of a job that they can perform. And essentially, they were doing that by using a large number of spreadsheets, and it was a very manual process that got very labor intensive, very complex, very quickly. So our goal was to create a database that would allow them to do this matching process in a much simpler and quicker way. Some of the main features were the match process, the searching, and the searching of both jobs and clients. And a main emphasis was that the user interface needed to be straightforward and easy to use. The what of the project was we created a database of jobs and clients that allows for clients with special needs to be matched with jobs that fit their requirements. Our target audience are the employees at Ability at Work who have, according to our sponsor, limited technological experience. Some of the main features, as mentioned before, were the client and job table, the matching process in which clients were matched up with jobs that fit their profile, and then the ability to search and sort jobs and clients based off a various amount of fields. And then we also installed specific user privileges based on the status of the user logging in. A couple additional features were the ability to add jobs, add clients, and modify the lists.
Cool, thank you, Ruchir. We're going to move into quick demo portion here. So I have the application running here. I'm just going to open it full screen. And just to introduce myself, I'm Colin. And again, the last one was Ruchir talking. So here we have two different logins, right? We have the user login and the admin login. I'm going to log in as the admin with our very secure admin. It's very secret. And I'm just going to do a quick rundown of all the different features. So we kind of have a taskbar on the left here for different menus. And then because I'm the admin, I have advanced privileges to show all the different features like adding a client and removing them and editing them and things like that. So here we can see searching clients, and this is the search client table. And we can just search on this. Like if I wanted to look at someone by the name of John, there's a lot of Johns here, as we can see. So I can start typing, or I can filter on like the individual fields here, right? So I want to say, oh, something in finance. Now only ones that have finance come back to us here. Another portion of this is actually adding a client. So if I come in here and let's add another John because there wasn't enough. John JS, let's see what kind of industry, put them on accounting. Add them. We can see we get a little success banner for doing that. Let's move over to the job menu here. So this is similar to the last table, but this is actually showing now the jobs that exist in the database. And if we click on more info here, similar to the last table, we can actually look at all the data. We can update that data, or we can delete that data. So this test business here, we just delete it if we wanted, and it gets removed from the table. And again, searching works here as well. If I want big job, I got a big job right there, right? This here also has the add job, a lot more fields here because there's more info that we need to track with the jobs. We come over to modify lists. This plays a crucial role in adding, searching both jobs and clients. So we have in our database, right, like all the cities are like static. So if I want to like add a job and, I want to select city, we have all these in here so people aren't making spelling mistakes. It's really easy for them to just grab a city that they want, oh, I want something, with an A in it, or I want Aurora. Oh, look, there it is. So that's really straightforward and easy to use. And you're able to modify other lists that you can access, like with the industries, for example. Here's these industries, but what I want a new one, you can come over here, add a new one, test, submit it. If we go to edit, we can now see that test in here as an industry. So that's really useful for modifying those. When it comes to actual match, this is kind of the bread and butter of the application. So if I want to now match John JS that I added, I can put in his initials and I can hit search. You can see there was a job that actually matched John. This is based on, the industry that he prefers and the time commitment that he has available to him. And then, let's say we want to go in and look at the contact and hook John up with this job. We have the ability to do that all right here. If there, isn't someone in, right, we get an error, no one exists for that name. Or if there's no matches, you'll get a similar error as well. We've also implemented mobile view. I won't shrink it down right now, but yeah, so basically as this gets smaller, you can see, the view changes for a mobile device, and it's really clean with a toggle menu and things like that. Then we can also log out, and we're back to the homepage. Cool, back on to our presentation.
All right, my name is Minh, and I'm going to go over some of the main features. Next. So one of the major one is the login, which we have two standard, one for user and one for admin. So yeah, like Colin said, the admin will have more privileges and more options. Okay, next. Yeah, so with the data table, client table, which we use Prime View to implement pagination, sorting, and searching, and displaying the data tables neatly. Next. We also have job table, which is similar to the client table. We also use Prime View to have pagination, sorting, and searching. And there's an extra feature of more information of each job that we can update or delete. Next.
All right, my name is Jonathan, and I'll be showing matching feature. For the matching, we have a prompt box to enter the client's first name and last two initials, and the system will find that client in the database and generate a list of every job matches their preferred industry, as well as hourly preferences, part-time, full-time, or no preference. From that generated table, you can refine the results further by zip code, county, or anything else you want, which brings us to the next feature on the next slide, searching and sorting. For both the client and job tables, we've set up easy-to-use drop-down filters for industry and hours, and search boxes for names and employers. In this example, we're only showing clients named John, and then we can further filter by county and hours, which you might need to because there are quite a lot of us.
All right, my name's Carson, and I'll be kind of discussing some of the additional features we got in this application. So the first one's going to be add job feature. So basically what this does is allows a user to add a job to the database. So as you saw with Colin, he was able to create a brand new job, get all the information that pertained to that job, such as the business name, the contact information, where the job was located, maybe the position or industry they're looking for someone in, the shift in the hours. And this is kind of a place where someone could enter in all that information. So some of the fields do have a predefined list of view options. So as Colin stated that we do have some of those predefined, such as cities, but there's also some that are kind of independent, such as the industry and positions where you can kind of modify. We do use an input validation just to kind of ensure that the user does completely fill out the form with all of the necessary fields before submitting a new job application. The next one is the add client. So it's very similar to the add job feature, but instead of adding a job to the database, it's going to add client. So the user is able to input the client's first name, their middle initial, last initial, maybe some of the entries that they're looking for, and even the hours. So if they want to work full-time or part-time, that's kind of all the information they're going to get. So similarly, it does have those predefined fields that the user can select to give that client. And we also do have a form validation just to make sure that they properly fill out this form.
Junyi, I think you're up.
Oh, sorry, I forgot my mute.
That's okay.
So my name is Junyi, and I'm going to talk about the modify list. So the user can modify the drop-down menu list by adding, removing, and editing options. So if the user is looking for a job in a specific industry or position, the user can easily modify the list to fit their needs. To do that, just click the modify list button at the top of the job menu, and it asks you to choose either the industry or position to make changes to. Next. So once the user have selected the list, the add remove and the edit option will show up. And the example on the left is to remove the existing industry from the list, and the example on the right is to make change to existing one. So the user don't have to navigate away from their dropdown to do this. So it can simplify only to find an industry position they are looking for. And once the user can to making changes, the success banner will appear at the top of the site, and the user knows the list is updated. And this feature is important because it reduces the chance of user input error and making the searching more convenient. Next.
All right, my name is Jesse, and I'm going to talk about our project architecture. So a general overview of our architecture. We have our front end, which primarily uses Vue and Tailwind. We have a little bit of CSS in there, and of course, you have your HTML as its web app. That interacts with our backend, which is running on Express, and our database is hosted on MongoDB. All of this is functioning using Node.js. And then we used VTest and Jest as a means for testing our functioning code. So some of the specifics, a lot of our front-end functions are just your typical, your login, your search, way to display the results, modify our lists, and match clients and jobs, as shown in the demo. On the back end, we have means of deleting some of these pieces of data, like our jobs and our clients, editing them, adding them, and then also retrieving them. And in the back, we have several different schemas that represent each of these objects, like an admin account, an employee account, your jobs, your clients, and your job options. And then this is an even more specific view on our database or schema. You might notice our user schema is right here. Our client schema just has some basic information about the client, such as their name, the industry they want, the hours they're looking to get, which jobs they've applied for, and some information about who has added them to the database. Similarly, our job schema has data that essentially represents what the job is, what hours they're looking for, what the wage is, and where it's located. And then our job options schema essentially is a way of pointing to the different kinds of options that these jobs may have.
All right. So when it comes to deployment, this is something we kind of worked out with Ian and the other people at Abilities at Work, right? How are we going to give this to them in the end? How are we going to make sure that they can use it and it's functioning? So what we went ahead and went with was they had just a spare computer laying around, and that was going to be their server. They bought a new SSD, slapped it in there. And then we went on a little field trip. We'll have a little photo at the end to show that, our little field trip to Abilities at Work to meet Ian and Chad. So yeah, we loaded up Kubuntu, which is an Ubuntu flavor, very similar to Windows. So anyone there, they're not super tech savvy, but it'll be familiar to them if they need to hop on. And then we just put Docker on there, and Docker was going to kind of be the main driving force for getting everything working, right? We're going to load up MongoDB, we're going to load up WireGuard, and then of course our app itself, it has its own Docker file. So it's its own container that can run on their server. Basically, it can run anywhere, and they don't really have to touch anything and worry about things going down. WireGuard is super important because that's going to allow all of them to actually access the application once it is finished and deployed on the server. But also, it allows us to remote in and do all the work that we need, and it allows them to access it after the fact. And it's local, it's secure. They don't have to, put anything on the cloud, and they don't have to worry about anyone getting into their exposed web ports because it's all hidden behind their firewall. And then when it comes to development process, so really we focused on Agile, right? So everything's on GitHub. That's kind of how we focused. Everything, tasks are on there, sprint planning is on there, tag for what it is we're looking at and what we're working with is all on GitHub. And we did meet twice a week to actually accomplish this. Usually on Thursdays, we would set up a new sprint, and then on Tuesdays is when we would meet to address those issues. But of course, it was open conversation. We met on Discord all the time, and if you wanted to send a message and ask for help at any moment, everyone was very willing to jump in and help out as needed. Over time, though, it was kind of noted that the task complexity kind of went up as the code base got more complex. So sprint started to become like every other week, but that's okay. We started early, and we're on track for getting it done. We put a huge emphasis on pull requests, right? Because PRs are sort of the bread and butter of Agile and making sure things work well. It's good to get PR up and get feedback on it. And one of the ways we wanted to emphasize that was having, 2 approvals on a PR, and you can't approve your own, right? So you get on PR, you're working on it, you get feedback, changes based on what people say, things like that. When it comes to documentation and planning, this was mostly done by team leads, myself and Richard. We wanted everyone on the team to have the most time with their tasks and not to be worrying about having to do something like documentation, right? Which I guess is something you do in industry, but it's rather boring, I suppose, as opposed to writing code. And then every week we also met with Ian. Chad hopped on as well. He was a big help. We'd meet on Wednesdays. We just wanted to keep them informed and in the loop of all the development that we were doing.
This is Richard again. So one of the most important aspects of this entire thing was the simple experience of the user, because our target audience, as told to us by our sponsors, was sort of limited in their experience using technology. So they wanted this app to be as simple and logical and straightforward as possible. Some of the things we did to ensure this was, as you saw earlier, we tried to limit typed input as much as possible. That's why we had those drop-down menus and the ability to edit those drop-down menus so that they can continue to be used. Also, our sponsor requested pagination as opposed to a scroll bar, as he had said some of their employees have had difficulty in the past utilizing or noticing a scroll bar. We also stressed that our menu options were very, very clear and concise, so that there was no confusion in what the user was trying to do in the app. And kind of as a final touch, we also implemented a dark and light mode to make it a little bit easier on the eyes. And testing, we used automated testing within GitHub Actions for every new PR. And basically, this tested the interactions with the database to ensure that our database and our code base, worked correctly together. And we also disabled the ability to merge the PR into main without passing these tests that we had designed. So this really helped us to shore up a lot of confusion or complexity that could have arrived. And then here for our
I think Ben's up. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah. Hello. My name is Ben, and I'm going to share with you the responsibilities and the contributions between our team. So how the tests were handed out? The tests were assigned based upon first come, first serve during the sprint planning meetings. Each task was discussed, and then members had an opportunity to sign up to tackle the task. Sometimes tasks were given to members who worked on similar tasks recently. Other times, members branch out and try something they might not been very familiar with. And then for contributions, everyone did a little bit of everything, and no one was stuck working continuously on one aspect, such as database schemas or API calls or front-end designs. This gave everyone the opportunity to work with different aspects of the project and allow us all to be knowledgeable of the project as a whole, which was a great benefit in the end. The next couple of slides, everyone will get to share their own contributions in the project.
So hi, my name's Dustin, and I created the nav bar and styled it with conditional styling for mobile and desktop view, and also created the component allowing for modification of predefined fields in the app.
Hey, this is Colin again. I helped set up the initial GitHub project. I handled task creation and delegation. I worked on the networking and deployment and the Dockerization of the app, and I was always able to help on Discord whenever someone needed.
Yeah, this is Richard. I helped in setting up the component structure with task creation and delegation, with the weekly meetings with the sponsor, and the basic UX design.
This is Minh. I planned some of the database schemas and routes, and I implemented try-catch blocks standard throughout the backend and front end.
Hi, this is Junyi. I help planning the database schema and implement the rules of the table, and I also implement the edit and remove buttons on the client table and the job search table, and hope the job detail into the end.
Hi, this is Ruchir. I wrote the database schemas, also worked on the front end for the client menu and some other UX features in our app.
Jonathan here. I implemented the Prime View library and set up the initial search table functionality, and I also implemented the main feature to match clients to jobs.
It's Carson, and I implemented the job creation UI and also created a lot of the components that were used app-wide and some of the UI design.
This is Jesse. I implemented the login and add client pages, and I also implemented dark mode and set authorization levels for admin control.
Hi, I'm Jacob. I implemented the schema tests and the GitHub action that ran them. And I implemented a feature that was too new to demo, which was the dynamic selectable columns, and I worked on lots of bugs.
Hi, this is Ben again, and I planned the matching and searching process for the client and the jobs, and I also helped in creating job schema and UI, and I did the majority of the jobs routes and database.
Jacob again. So I'm going to talk about some unexpected events that we experienced and bugs and challenges. So one thing that was surprisingly annoying was how we, when code would get out of sync, we would have maybe variables that would be different types. And due to the nature of JavaScript and also our maybe not stellar code coverage, we would see those issues during runtime instead of compile time. So that would be a little more challenging. We also had an issue where, Colin instructed us to be consistent and use the prettier formatter, but people like me didn't know that we were using a different formatter by default in VS Code, and that obviously caused confusion with like the history on GitHub and complication when like merging. There was an issue with like case sensitivity in MongoDB. So ideally, we wanted database to not consider different cases to be like actually distinct, but we would want them to just display correctly on the app with the correct cases. So our solution we've been working on is to have things go into the database with all the same case, come out with the cases corrected so they'll be displayed properly. Also, Colin tackled this issue where the tailwind styling wasn't displaying properly in Docker, and that one was pretty funny, and it actually just involved recreating the Docker container. That's all it took, but it was a lot of hard work. Next slide. So one of our challenges was how abilities at work had a lot of like sensitive data that they were storing, and we didn't want to have any of that on our app. We found that out a few weeks in, and that caused us to have to change our requirements a little bit. So that was a little bit of a challenge. Another thing that's maybe not necessarily shown here is how we initially want to break down the table and build it ourselves. And we had at least 4 people working on that. And it was difficult to coordinate. So we ended up switching over to a prime view library to do the table, as previously mentioned. Unfortunately, that was difficult to style because it was kind of monolithic. So that took a lot of time. Kudos to Jesse for his hard work on that. Another thing was, it was difficult to design the schemas. They kind of are the foundation of everything, and we sometimes overcomplicated it. So we had to simplify those a little bit. Also, obviously, the UI was very challenging because of the constraints that were previously mentioned that this module gave us. That's all.
Hello, Ruchir again. I'll go over the lessons and experience learned. Next slide. So we should prioritize using TypeScript or JavaScript because TypeScript recognizes some basic bugs so that it is not left all the way to the end when we are doing the PR process. So it just gets us faster to our goal. Also, we should assign specific members to handle PR testing and approval every week instead of leaving it open to all. And sometimes because of this, PRs were left open longer than they were supposed to be. And not having a formatter built into GitHub, which caused a bunch of weird commits. That was causing us some issues. And finally, frequent communication with the sponsor. So if we communicate with the sponsor clearly, understand the expectations and features that we need in our app, everyone in the team will know, will be clear on the expectations, and it is easier for everyone to build. And yeah, next slide.
This is Dustin again, and I think we all, as a group, gained a lot of experience working a part of a large sprint planning team. There's 11 of us, so I think we got a lot of understanding and experience working part of a large team. We had weekly meetings Tuesday and Thursday every week, where one was just for discussing what progress we made, if anyone had any issues and problems, and the next being assigning issues or finishing up some of the tasks that were already assigned. And I think that was super helpful for everyone here. Again, working through the standard PR process, I know a lot of people may not have had experience doing that professionally or just through our personal lives. So was really helpful understanding how that works and understanding some of the issues that come with the PR process, like merge conflicts and stuff like that. And gaining a better understanding of a full stack application, like just understanding how all the pieces connect and work together. And then lastly, Git and just understanding all the tools that are available to you with Git and just how it all comes together with the full stack application.
This is Ruchir again. Going to talk about some of the sponsor feedback. So we were very fortunate that our sponsor Ian made himself very available, and he actually ended up bringing his coworker Chad in to our meetings. And we met with them every Wednesday at 10 o'clock, and basically each week we would show them the progress we had made along with our current tasks. And this was very helpful because many of our tasks actually resulted directly from their input and our meetings with them. So they were an integral part of the progression of this project. A majority of their feedback was in regards to the front end and the overall use of the app, as they continuously stress simplicity. But it was nice to get their feedback weekly. Some of their examples of the feedback that we implemented that came directly from them. Some of them mentioned before was the pagination over the scroll bars, the use of the drop-down menus as much as possible to limit direct user typed input. They also wanted a confirmation pop-up for the logout option, just asking the user if they were sure they wanted to log out. They also help in developing the user privileges, what a general user could do and what an admin user could do. They also were crucial in designating the specific fields for the client jobs that were the most important, that should take precedence. And they also wanted us to create a specific field to display the date and time the job was posted so that they could easily keep track of stale jobs.
Perfect. Yeah. This is the final slide. This is our little photo, our field trip to Abilities at Work. Fortunately, a few people couldn't make it. Dustin, Minh, and Jonathan are shown here. I hope I didn't miss anyone. I think that's the people who didn't come. And then Chad and Ian are on the far left there. Big kudos to the whole team. Thank you to everyone for being here to do the presentation today. We hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much.